For over 600 years, one single empire dominated the crossroads of the world. It was a true global superpower, the last caliphate and the most powerful Islamic state on earth. And when it finally collapsed about a century ago, it left a wound in the Muslim world that some argue still hasn't healed. So let's get right into the story of the Ottoman Empire, because this isn't just about some fallen kingdom. It's a dramatic story of transformation, from a global power to a modern nation-state, and really how its ghost continues to shape our world today. Okay, first things first. To really get a handle on this, we need a sense of scale. The Ottoman Empire lasted for an incredible 623 years. I mean, look at this timeline. That's longer than the Roman Empire and way, way longer than the Soviet Union. This wasn't some flash in the pan. This was a civilization that defined an entire era of human history. All right, so to understand what was lost, we've got to first understand what they built, right? What did this empire actually look like when it was at the top of its game? Let's dive into that golden age. You know, what's so incredible about the Ottoman Golden Age is this mix of sheer power and, honestly, surprising flexibility. In 1453, they conquered Constantinople, the legendary capital of the Byzantine Empire, and turned it into Istanbul. Under leaders like Suleiman the Magnificent, they basically owned the Mediterranean. And they ruled over this huge, diverse population using something called the millet system, which let religious groups govern themselves. When Jews were kicked out of Spain in 1492, the Sultan invited them in. But the big one? They held the title of Caliph, the spiritual leader of the entire Sunni Muslim world. That gave them a legitimacy that went way beyond just their armies. But here's the thing about empires. No matter how powerful they seem, they're not immortal. Think of it like a giant, wildly successful company that just fails to adapt when the market changes. The fall of the Ottoman Empire wasn't one big event. It was a slow, creeping sickness from the inside. And this right here, this is a perfect example of what went wrong. The printing press. Europe gets it in the 1440s, and it sparks a revolution in knowledge. The Ottomans, though, they restricted printing in Arabic for nearly 300 years. Just imagine a superpower today deciding to ignore the internet for a few decades. That's the scale of the mistake we're talking about. It created this massive and ultimately fatal knowledge gap. And the problems just kept piling up. The Janissaries, who were once their elite super soldiers, became more like a powerful union, blocking any attempt to modernize the military. Then, European explorers find new sea routes, bypassing Ottoman trade and crushing their economy. A flood of cheap silver from the Americas causes runaway inflation. They did try to modernize with these reforms, the Tanzimat, but it was a classic case of too little, too late. So by the time we get to the 1800s, it was clear to everyone what was happening. European powers were circling like vultures, picking off Ottoman territories one by one. The empire was bleeding land and power, earning it that grim nickname, the sick man of Europe. The final nail in the coffin, of course, would be World War I. But from the ashes of that total collapse, a completely new story begins. This is the climax of a whole thing, the end of the empire and the revolutionary, almost unimaginable creation of modern Turkey, all led by one man, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. What Ataturk did was a complete system reboot, and it was unbelievably fast and radical. His whole philosophy was that for the Turkish people to survive, they had to become a modern, secular Western nation. So he didn't just change the laws, he tried to rewire the entire culture. The Sultanate and the 1,300-year-old Caliphate, gone. Islamic law replaced with European codes. He even banned the traditional fez hat. And maybe the most shocking move of all, he replaced the Arabic script with a Latin one. And let's just pause on that for a second. Let that sink in. With that one decision, he created this profound cultural rupture. The connection to centuries of Ottoman history, literature, even their own family documents was basically severed overnight. So yeah, Turkey modernized, it avoided being colonized, but the human price for that was this massive, painful break with its own past. I mean, this one detail just paints such a vivid picture. The Caliphate, this institution that had been the symbolic center of the Sunni Muslim world since the 7th century, didn't end with some epic battle. Nope. It ended with a man quietly getting on a train, the famous Orient Express, and heading into exile. Just like that, the Caliphate was gone. But, of course, that's not where the story ends. Not even close. Because an empire that big doesn't just vanish. Its ghost, well, its ghost sticks around. And today, this powerful nostalgia for the Ottoman past has become a major force in the 21st century, especially in Turkey. And you can see these echoes all over the place. You hear political leaders talking about Ottoman glory. In 2020, the Hagia Sophia was converted back into a mosque. That was a hugely symbolic move. All around the world, Turkish historical TV shows about the Ottoman era are massive hits, watched by hundreds of millions. This isn't history in a textbook, right? It's alive. It's shaping politics and culture right now. So all of this, it leads us to a really big, kind of provocative question. With the old world order looking a little shaky these days, could an Islamic superpower, a sort of modern caliphate, ever actually rise again? Well, let's break it down. Let's look at the balance sheet for this idea. The obstacles are huge, no doubt about it. The world is carved up into nation-states now, all with their own competing interests. And deep divisions, like the one between Sunni and Shia Muslims, haven't gone anywhere. But on the other side of the ledger, the potential is just staggering. A population of 1.8 billion people, control over a massive chunk of the world's energy, a combined GDP of over $7 trillion. So what's the bottom line here? What's the realistic takeaway? A literal return to a single empire like the Ottomans? That's almost certainly a fantasy. The world just doesn't work that way anymore. But a powerful political and economic bloc, a kind of Islamic union bound together by faith and mutual interests, sort of like the EU, now that is a much more plausible future. And that really brings us full circle. The Ottoman Empire was a superpower for 600 years, but it fell because it failed to change. So, for the modern world, is its memory a blueprint for future glory? Or is it a warning about the danger of being trapped by the past? The answer to that question is probably going to define the 21st century for almost 2 billion people.